Tom Steyer, the billionaire investor and activist who spent millions advocating for the impeachment of President Trump, is launching a campaign to take his job. He joins a field of 24 other candidates seeking the Democratic nomination for president after previously saying he would not run. As part of our continuing series, The Road to 2020, he joins us for his first national television interview since announcing his candidacy. Tom Steyer, good morning. Welcome.
Anthony, nice to see you.
What changed? You weren't in this race in January. You specifically said, no, I'm not running. Now you are.
Actually, what I said specifically was I was not running then.
You did say that.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
at this time.
Because I felt at that point I had a responsibility to push the impeachment of Mr. Trump. We had 6 million people who'd signed our petition. We were still a lonely voice in the wilderness saying he's the most corrupt president in history. He's unfit for the office. He's dangerous to the American people.
Are you giving up that campaign to do this?
No, I'm going to continue to fund that. But I believe we've won that argument. I think everybody in D.C., including Republicans, realizes that what we were saying for 20 months before people came around to it is now obvious and true. There's still a question about whether it happens, but I felt as if watching that for the last 6 months and pushing it was a profound failure of government because everybody understands he should be impeached at this point. It's a question of whether it will happen. And I also watched this campaign and I felt as if I couldn't sleep because to me, the biggest question facing the United States is not what we should do, but how are we going to break the corrupt stranglehold that corporations have on our government? And how are we actually going to get done things that the American people want? How are we going to return power to the American people? That is the question in front of us today, and I didn't feel it was being addressed.
Let's talk about what's in your win column. You poured $120 million into the midterms. Some would say you won the House back for the Democrats. Millions into campaigns against big oil, against big tobacco, against corporate tax loopholes. Why is $100 million running for president money well spent?
Well, Michelle, I don't think it's about the money. For the last 10 years, I've been trying to push power back to the people of the United States to retake the government from what I think of as a corporate takeover that's taken place over the last 40 years. And that includes those propositions where we went around the legislatures to go directly to get people's votes. This is a continuation, as far as I'm concerned, of the grassroots efforts that I've led for the last 10 years, including propositions, including registration, including doubling the turnout of young people in the swing districts last year to retake the House of Representatives. This is about retaking the democracy from the corrupt corporate power that is determining what happens in Washington, D.C.
Hearing you say that, first of all, surprising given your stature financially and your history, but also interesting because Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders would say, hey, that's my campaign.
Right.
Other candidates as well. And then when it comes to climate change, which is another issue for you, there are numerous candidates, including Jay Inslee, who are taking on that issue. So what makes you different? And can you be different enough to qualify for a debate with 1% of the poll?
Well, Tony, let me say this. I'm an outsider. I have been doing this successfully, beating the oil companies, the tobacco companies, closing tax loopholes from the outside for 10 years. I don't believe that this failed government is going to be reformed from the inside. I believe it's a question of coming from the outside and doing what I've been doing for the last 10 years, going directly to the people. Because I think that we can see that Washington has been unable to reform itself. Isn't it going to take somebody who's got a different perspective and a different history and has been doing it for 10 years successfully?
Tom, we want to get some quick yes or no answers, if you would, on some big
Yes,
This
questions.
reminds me of school. Yes or no? Please clap your hands.
Full disclosure, we actually went to school together. But here, some of the bigger questions that have emerged on the campaign trail are these issues. Do you support proposals for free college?
Yes. Now, every one of these questions has a lot of nuance to it.
Understood.
But there is no question in my mind that we are under-investing in the education of young people, including in college. And whether I go along exactly with Senator Sanders' exact proposal is a different question.
Understood.
But the idea of us providing quality public education from pre-K through college and including lifelong skills training is something I absolutely support.
Yes or no? Would your insurance plan provide coverage for undocumented immigrants?
And so the short answer
is
going to be yes. But once again, I want to talk about something broader. which is this. We have a failed immigration system. We should have comprehensive immigration reform, which is a classic thing that this government has been unable to do for decades. So in that context, what are you supposed to do with people who are part of society, live here, contribute to society, and yet are somehow under the radar, are living in the shadows? They're a part of society.
So we're doing yes or no plus, I guess.
No, because this is the classic thing. You can ask a question that has a million nuances.
Yes.
Right.
It is.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. One more. Yes or no. Do you support reparations for the descendants of slaves?
And where I've gone on that is we should do a study to go back and see what that means. But the other answer, if I had to give yes or no, is
So maybe.
no. Let me answer that more clearly, Tony.
You got it.
We have a society where people don't start at the same starting line. And that has been something that has been built in through centuries of unfairness and injustice. And exactly the best way to address that as a society is a subject of real study. But whether to address that as a society is not a question. Of course we need to address that. That's why I said a study, because this is complicated. It's got to be perceived by Americans as to be fair across the board. And we've got to accept the idea that this is a society which has not treated people equally for centuries.
Tom, are you expecting to make the next debate?
My attitude about the debates is I don't think I can make July because I'm just too late.
Okay.
But I'm going to take very seriously getting on the debate stage in September, October.
Tom Steyer,
Tom
thank
Steyer.
you so much for being with us.
Nice to see you guys.